Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm checking out the FuriBee Fuuton 200 from gearbest.com, and I'm really excited to show you this product because it is just so good. I've flown it already, I've tested it, it's absolutely brilliant. And it undercuts the Diatone GT2's price as well. Now the prices always fluctuate, but I think at the moment it's currently set at about £175, whereas the GT2 sits at about £220, something like that. But it's got very similar features. So it's a 200 size frame, and it's one of my favourite configurations. Now, I always refer back to this guy, but this is the GB210 build that I did on the channel, and it's very similar to that. This is a great model, but like I say, this is a 210 size, and this is a 200 size, so slightly smaller. And let's see what you get. So we have got the motors. Now, they are unbranded, but according to the manual, they are 2205 2500 kV motors, and spoiler alert, doesn't matter that they're unbranded, they're absolutely fantastic. They've got so much power and punch, it's unbelievable. Then we have got these 3-leaf propellers here. They are translucent, they are 5040, which is my favourite size for a 5-inch, very similar to the Rotor Geeks HQ props. I think they might be a little bit more flexible than that actually, but really powerful with these propellers. And then we have got 20 amp ESC, so not 30 amp, but they have a 30 amp burst, but I didn't find them to be an issue with this model whatsoever. And of course the frame is very thick as well, it has no play in it whatsoever. We do have holes underneath here, which does mean that you can get mud in there, and I have got a bit of mud in there because I've been flying this one a lot. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, let's get on to the flight controller. Now this is the Kakut, I think you pronounce it. Kakut. It's an all-in-one flight controller. I don't know why they give them these silly names, but there you go. Yes, all-in-one flight controller, power distribution board, and multi-wii on-screen display as well, which is just fantastic. And it's an SP Racing F3 flight controller as well, and it's got a buzzer, you can see it there as well, and we've got a USB port on the side there. We've got a button here, and that is the bootloader button. So if you want to upgrade the firmware, then you can press that boot button if it bricks, but obviously you don't need to do that if everything flashes fine. And then we have got this here as well. Now, you're not given the connector for this, sadly, and this is to connect up to an FTDI board so that you can configure multi-wii on-screen display. But again, spoiler alert, you don't need to. It's set up exactly how I would set it up, which is rare with this sort of thing, and I suppose rare in general because everybody has got their own preference of what they like on an on-screen display. This one hits the mark for me. So then we have got a camera up front here, and it's a CCD camera. Now, I don't know if it's a HS1177 camera, maybe it's a clone, but importantly, it has that Sony CCD sensor, and it's fantastic. And we also have got a 2.5mm wide-angle lens on there as well. It looks of very good quality. And this camera goes completely flat, if you like, and then all the way up to crazy angle. So on the back, we've got an LED board. Now the DIN is connected to this LED bulb, which means you can configure it, but it's not configured out of the box, so the lights just all flash red. But you can go into the LED settings in Betaflight. So yes, it comes with Betaflight already flashed to it. I think it's version 3.01, which is a very stable release, and I like it. And then we've got a 600 milliwatt VTX on the back here as well. It's not a power switchable one, so it's stuck at 600 milliwatt, but it is 40 channels, so you have the usual long press to get into the different bands, and then the short presses to go through all of the different channels. Really easy. Now you can see here that I have added a on-way antenna. You aren't given that in the package. It's RPSMA. You are given just a normal mushroom antenna, but I thought I would just add this guy for better reception, because I guess it's the only point of the package that isn't really very premium. Yeah, it's fine, it works okay. It's a right hand polarized mushroom antenna, but I prefer these on-way ones. And I have to say, actually, the reception of the mushroom antenna that comes with it is very good. Couldn't really tell the difference, but I thought I'd stick this on there because it matched my FPV goggles better, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So we also have this mount you can see here, and it's for a Session 5, and you're given 2 cable ties, and that just cable ties around the front there. And then you're given this spare strap as well, and that is to go around your Session 4, Session 5. So yeah, of course it doesn't come with a GoPro Session 5, but if you are using, say, a Hero 4 or a Yi camera, then you can stick a different mount on there, no problem. But yeah, really struggling to fault this one at all. It's really lightweight as well. With the Session 5 and just a bog standard 4-cell LiPo battery, it came in at 507 grams, which is very light. And with the graphene batteries that I use, it came in at 527 grams, so fairly lightweight setup, and you can tell with the punch as well, it's absolutely crazy. Now it says in the manual that the ESCs are flashed with BL Heli. They're actually flashed with BL Heli S, so really nice ESCs, even though they're 20 amp, no problem whatsoever flying this. Now let's talk about the receiver configuration. Now it comes with iBus setup ready to be installed, and the only receiver that I know of that would plug and play directly into this is this guy. This is the FlySky A8S, and you can see it's got this little 4-pin Pico connector, and that just plugs straight in. And in Betaflight it was already set up for iBus and ready to go. The problem I have is I have bust this receiver. I blew it up on a different model when I made a mistake. So what I have done is there is a little solder connection here. So we've got the plus voltage there, and then next to it the negative, and then we've got iBus and S-bus there on this little yellow wire. And what I did was I desoldered them and soldered the connector for an XSR. So I've got an XSR in there and just a little cable tie around there, but really it's designed for this guy, and you shouldn't have a problem using this at all. But as you can see, mine's absolutely battered and doesn't work anymore, so I need to get some of those in stock. Need to remember that. And then the antennas are just coming out of the top there. So you don't actually get a lot of other stuff with this one. That's fine, because you've got everything that you need. You get a spare set of these propellers, and I really like these propellers. I need to find out what make they are, because I flew them and they were really nice. So you aren't given a battery with this, of course, so I'm using these powerful Turnigy graphene batteries. They are high C rating and work just perfect with this one. And then of course for my transmitter I'm using the Taranis Plus. Now one thing that I was really impressed with on this model as well is very minimal setup in Betaflight. Everything was there. So I have set it to channel 5 to ARM. So I think, yeah, channel 5 was set to ARM, and then channel 6 was your modes, and it was set up as acro and air mode, and then acro, and then horizon. And the only thing I've done is change this last one to angle. So I've got acro with air mode, acro, and then I've got angle mode here. I also added a auxiliary 3, which wasn't set up in Betaflight, for a buzzer on that one, and that works just really nicely. And then of course I should mention the FPV goggles, but if you are a regular subscriber to the channel, you'll know I use the Fat Shark Dominator HD3s. We've got a Menace RC Invader patch antenna, a Omway cloverleaf antenna, and the Fat Shark Diversity receiver there as well. So you are given this manual here, but it isn't really extensive. Not that you need it to be, really. It does have a diagram of the all-in-one flight controller there, and tells you what each thing does, and then we've got some things on the specifications here as well. So yeah, VBAT is connected, then it tells you the connections if you want to stick a FTDI adapter up to change the on-screen display, but honestly didn't need to do it at all. We've got the binding procedures for each option, so it is telling you that you can put any receiver to this, and you can, if you know what you're doing, you have to desolder or move the pins around or anything like that. But yeah, it's a really great product, this. I can't fault it at all. We have got an XT60 connector on the back, so we can use any 4-cell battery as well. It's a great package, and I can't wait for you to see how well it flies, because it does fly great. You can see they're very lightweight as well without a battery, 265 grams. So this is the antenna that it actually comes with. Like I say, nothing wrong with it at all. I just wanted to match it up to my Fat Sharks. So here we are in the Betaflight configurator. You get it from the Chrome App Store. Now it already has Betaflight flash to it, so no need to flash it, but if you do want to upgrade it, you can, but I find this version of Betaflight is pretty stable, so I'm just going to connect to it. So I've got the quadcopter plugged into the computer via a USB cable. I've also got the battery connected as well, otherwise you can't have the receiver powering up, so make sure you remove the props, and also that little beeper that's on board as well, that's going to keep going off if you don't plug the battery in, so it's quite annoying. Okay, so let's connect to it. I'm going to enable expert mode. So I didn't need to calibrate the accelerometer here, everything was fine. Let's go into the ports. So we have serial RX on the UART3 for the receiver, and we've also got UART2 turned on for the telemetry for the on-screen display. So we have quad X set up here, no board alignment here, one shot 125 out of the box, motor stop turned off out of the box, and all this is default settings. So if I come down here, then serial based receiver was selected, but it did have iBus selected here, so I've had to change that for my XSR receiver. Over to the VBAT, so you can see there that it is getting the battery telemetry from the copter there, and then I have just reduced the warning cell voltage a little bit because I find them annoying when they go off at the top of your throttle. And current meter is selected, and it does have the current meter on the on-screen display as well, which is nice. And then if we come down here, we've got LED strip enabled and black box enabled. So if we go over to the failsafe, it was set to drop out of the box, and that worked. I tested it with the props off, no problem there. PID tuning, it does have the default PIDs for Betaflight, so I just bumped the D up to 37, and that gave me a fairly good tune, but I would imagine it will fly okay with the stock PIDs anyways. I bumped up the Super 8 to 0.8, that's something that I did, and everything else is stock values there. If we go into the receiver tab, so for the Taranis it's TAER, and of course with FlySky, which is what it was set up with, that's AETR. So if we then go into the modes tab, you can see I've got my arming on a 2-position switch, and then the 3-position switch is air mode and acro. and then just acro, and then we have angle mode, but it was set up as horizon, but I like to have angle mode in there just in case. Then I added this down here. It's an AUX 3 for a beeper, so lost model alarm as well. I did not calibrate the ESCs, those were all fine. The LED strip, everything was just set to red, so I clicked on them individually and changed that to arm state, and then the LEDs go from green to blue when you arm. Of course you can do more elaborate things with them, but I'm not a big LED type of person. Then if we go into the CLI, I will just type the version that it comes with. So it's SP Racing F3 3.01. I really like this version. I do recommend that you upgrade, but I haven't had a problem with this version at all. I like the way that it flies, but if you do upgrade, then you may get a better flying copter. So I will just disconnect from this one, and everything's beeping here, and I just want to show you that despite the manual, it does come with B Al Hali S installed. So you can see that I've got the clean flight pass-through, and then make sure the right COM port selected. If I connect to that and then press check and then press OK, everything will turn pink, and you see there B Al Hali S. So it does come with that, which is fantastic. So here we are looking through the FPV goggles. I really like this on-screen display. I wouldn't change anything about it. We have the amount of time that the quad has been idle on the bottom right corner, and then when you arm, that will change to flight time and reset to 0. And then each time you disarm, it will flip back and forth between the flight time and how long it's been on the ground for. Then you can see it says disarmed in the middle, but when you arm the quadcopter, that changes to armed and then disappears. We have got the current there at the bottom, currently showing 0.5 amps because we just have the VTX gear powered up and the flight control at the moment, no motors. And then we have got the battery voltage there at the far left, and that was bang on. I didn't have to change the scaling at all, it was perfect. And then you can see up the top there we've got the flight mode as well. So it's in acro at the moment. You can see if I change that, it goes to stability there. So just like all of the other multi-wheel on-screen displays, you can actually go into the settings. So if you put the throttle somewhere in the middle and then pitch forward, and then also have the rudder to the right, you can see we can go into that menu and then use the pitch to go up to the different options, and then you can use the aileron to go over, and then you can use the rudder to change the value. So very useful if you want to go through and change your PIDs whilst flying. You don't have to plug it into Betaflight or a computer, and then if you go across here you can change all sorts of stuff through the on-screen display, like the voltage scaling if it was out, or you can reduce the voltage alarm. That's something that I tend to do, but I haven't done it on this one. So really fantastic features with this quadcopter. Okay, let's go for a takeoff. Starting off in angle mode. You have to be pretty quick to get these guys off the ground when they have the underslung battery. Everything's looking good so far. Let's go for a punch. Oh wow. Now it probably doesn't look as impressive on camera as it does in person. I literally cannot move my head fast enough. That is crazy. Always shocks me flying these 5-inch quads line of sight. You never really get a sense of how much power they've got until you physically see them jump up into the air. You certainly wouldn't want to be aboard it. It would break your back. So it's flying nicely in angle mode. Nice slow roll there. Much easier with a 5-inch quad to do line of sight acro. You can sort of see what you're doing. Easy to get a perspective on it. Nice, I think this tune's pretty nice. Again, you can never tell until you start doing FPV. Really like the colour of these props. And I like this configuration in general. The 210 size. Fairly breezy day today, but you wouldn't know it. Not with the way this thing flies. Of course, the problem with the 5-inch is not the quietest of things. I can hear the motors echoing all around. And it just disappears out of sight. This is just so much fun. But I think I'm going to have to come in for a landing and try some FPV with this guy. So I don't actually have a lot more to say on this model. It's really hard to criticize. I do think it's competing with the likes of the Diatone GT2. And why might you want to get the FuriBee over the GT2? Well, I think this one has got a better camera angle. The GoPro session sits higher up, so you don't get the props in shot. But then the GT2 does have those high quality components and motors, and you can lift the hood on that one for easy maintenance. Also, the GT2 has got a built-in microphone for FPV if that is important to you, but it isn't for me, so I think it's pretty hard to call. I think potentially that the GT2 may have more powerful motors. They certainly rev higher, but whether that converts to more power, I guess you'd have to race them together. But one thing I do know is that this FuriBee Fuuton has a ton of punch and power, and I have been flying it a lot. Now, there is a slight bit of noise coming through from the motors to the FPV cam, but it's not bad at all, and the view is fantastic. You get a 4-minute flight time with it, which is standard for these mini quads, so I'll put links in the description if you wish to get one. I'll leave you with some flying. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.